sanatonia.gov. Our public works crews have been out spreading chat rock on overpasses, bridges, and we do have de-icing crews that will continue to work through midnight with TxDOT for possible additional work overnight. We have responded to a number of downed trees. Rudy may talk a little bit about this in a second. We did have 8 low water crossings that were still activated as a result of the rain last night. And we have been actively dealing with traffic signals that had power outages, and that'll continue. Our pre-K for SA centers will be closed tomorrow. We are also closing all of the COVID-19 test sites that are operated by Curative and community labs on behalf of the city, as well as the Alamo Dome mass vaccination site. All of our other regular city services will resume at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and that does include solid waste services. We're going to have a little bit of a late start with solid waste services tomorrow. Just another reminder, as I mentioned this morning, the city has 4 warming centers that are open to the general public. We are following COVID-19 protocols at those locations, and pets are certainly welcome. And anybody who's got needs help being transported to those 4 centers can call 311 to coordinate. The 4 centers are the Garza Community Center at 1450 Mira Lista, Harlandale Community Center at 7227 Briar Place, Hamilton Community Center at 10700 Nacogdoches Road, and the Denver Heights Community Center at 300 Porter Street. If you need any other assistance, please don't hesitate to call 311 tonight. We do have extended hours, and you can always get the latest information either on our social media pages or at sanantonio.gov. So let me turn it over to Chief McManus for an update on the roads. Chief?
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, everyone. 3 locations remain closed at the moment. 410 eastbound at the 281 northbound flyover, 1604 and 281, or at 281, and 281 northbound at the airport terminal. And we do not expect or anticipate any other road closures today as long as the precipitation stops. And we go back to 6 o'clock this morning till 4:30 this afternoon. We had 47 minor accidents, 30 major accidents, and 43 traffic related calls. And most of those calls were water related, not ice related. Let me turn it over now to Michael Moreland.
Thank you, Chief McManus. Good evening, everyone. Bexar County, along with the city of San Antonio and our other community partners, have been busy throughout the day here at the Emergency Operations Center, monitoring conditions and identifying any potential community needs. Currently, among the 6 Bexar County warming centers, we have 17 residents. As a reminder, these warming centers are currently open through noon on Saturday. The locations of these warming centers can be found at bear.org/winter. CPS has been doing a great job throughout the day restoring outages, and we continue to work with them to monitor for any potential extended outages for our communities. We're working with our suburban cities for any resource needs. Our staff will remain in the Emergency Operations Center throughout the night to monitor conditions and identify any community needs, along with many of our community partners here. I also echo Eric's comments. We recommend residents avoid all non-essential travel on the roads, as there are still some very slick spots throughout the county. Next is Rudy Garza with CPS Energy.
Well, good afternoon. It's been a long day, and I certainly appreciate patience from our community as we've worked through what's been a pretty difficult day of restoration. If you go to our outage map, and I just kind of want to point this out, you can kind of see the line of where the sleet kind of stopped. It goes from 410 and 151, kind of following up the 35 corridor into Universal City and Selma. And the good majority of our outages were kind of north of that line. We did have, some isolated outages on the south side, but primarily the impact from today has been a direct result of a combination of ice, trees, and wind that came in, right around 6 o'clock in the morning. I want to thank our crews and support employees for braving difficult conditions today. You know, we have been on our crews to be safe as they move around. And, you know, when you're moving around in icy conditions, it certainly does slow us down. Approximately 98,000 customers saw an outage of some type. That may have just been kind of a small incidental blink, or for 37,000 customers who saw a sustained outage at one time, it would have been more significant. We responded to over 50 wire down orders today as a direct result of the wind and the ice weighing down our lines. And so, as always, we would ask you, if you come across a down power line or you're just not sure if it's a down power line or not, report it to CPS Energy at 210-353-4357. As of right now, we have 115 outages impacting close to 5,466 customers. I will tell you that, you know, it is no small feat to work through 32,000 customers out over a 12-hour period. So while I know it's cold and that we continue to work, I just want to reiterate our linemen are some of the best in the business and really have gotten after it today under some really difficult circumstances. Most of the outages, remaining outages, should be restored by midnight. So if you're not out, if you're still out, you know, our hope is we'll get you back on by midnight. But for any outages that and really it's the single, you know, kind of transformer outages that are a result of tree limbs, you know, kind of localized to one spot, you know, we will be calling those customers to make sure that they're making arrangements in the event that they're going to be, you know, out beyond midnight. But midnight is when we really expect to get the remainder of the work, the bulk of the work done. I want to reiterate as well, this is not a failure of our system. Our power plants have been fine. I'm not sure we've had one direct equipment related outage. Our substations have been operational. Transmission system has been good. This is really a weather driven event. And, you know, and it highlights, you know, the things that I've talked to my team about today is to really look for some efficiencies in our operation, to put more money to tree trimming in the coming year. You know, we've talked to city staff about, you know, the need to maybe look for, you know, $3 to $5 million more than what we normally spend, because that's really how we're going to get into a situation where, you know, where trees are not gonna impact us in a time like this. So we got work to do there, but certainly we're up for the challenge. Anybody that again is out, we did send out a customer message right around 1:30, 2 o'clock today, and we will be contacting customers as we get into the evening if you're going to be out much longer. I would ask for anybody who's out on the roads, please move over and slow down for our crews. You know, a lot of our crews have had to get out of their trucks to walk lines because there's down trees and they can't see what's exactly impacting a particular area, and they may have to walk through areas that we can't drive through for all kinds of reasons. So again, that, you know, when our folks are walking around, it creates additional risk for them. And I'm just going to ask our community to really watch for the CPS Energy vehicles out on the roadway, and please take care of our line crews. And again, I want to thank our customers for their patience. I know it's never a good time to experience an outage. We are doing the best that we absolutely can to get everybody back on. Thank you. Robert?
Thank you, Rudy. At SAWS, we have no issues. It's business as usual. Prior to this event, we obviously had staged our employees, made sure they had all the equipment they needed, that all of our vehicles were equipped if they had to drive on ice. So as I mentioned, it's business as usual. We're out there reading meters. We're still taking water samples and wastewater samples to our lab to make sure we have high quality water for our customers. The biggest issue seen is probably going to be the individual homeowners' pipes. If you've wrapped them up, great, you should be fine. If you still haven't, it's going to get colder tonight than last night. So if you have that opportunity, make sure you insulate those pipes. If you don't have that type of insulation, a bed sheet, a towel is perfectly fine. We should be out of this by mid-afternoon tomorrow, so we just need to get to that point. Of note is just coincidentally today we put online our outage map. This is obviously you can look at it for this particular purpose, but we have no outages. But in the future, it will be for construction and other main breaks that may happen, where you can see what part of town is maybe out of water and how long that particular repair will take. So again, thank you for all of the community for being patient with all of us. We value being able to communicate with you and tell you what's going on, tell you what we need from you and what kind of information we get out there. So all in all, everything is going well for SAWS. And I kick it over to you, Jeff. Jeff from VIA. And Jeff, you're on mute.
I did that on purpose so there would be reason to say that in this meeting. No meeting is complete without it. I'm sorry. So VIA operations continue as normal. We've made 100% on-time pullout this morning, thanks to the fact that we had mechanic crews that were working overnight to make sure the buses were ready, and operators that started arriving as early as 3 in the morning so they could get those buses out on the street. We have about 8 routes that are on detour right now, minor detours, most of them associated either with water or ice. The ice, as has been noted, is in the outer regions of the service area. We see no expectation of anything other than 100% pullout in the morning. We continue to offer free rides on the buses to any of the warming centers. And we work through 311 and the Emergency Operations Center for requests to transport people. I think we've transported about 10 families to warming centers today. And I'd like to wrap up, as many have here, just thanking all the employees at VIA, but also the employees at SAWS and at the city, county, and at CPS for all being out there so diligently today to make sure that the community could go through a day like today with as small a disruption as possible. Thank you.
At this time, we'll take questions from the media. You can unmute your line, introduce yourself, and tell us what outlet you're with, and also leave comments here in the chat.
Hey, Rudy, it's Joey. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Laura. It's Joey Palacios at Texas Public Radio. Hey, Rudy, I think a second ago you mentioned that a total of 90,000 customers had outages. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that number. Was that like staggered throughout the day?
Yeah, that's right. And it could be, a lot of times what happens, Joey, is that we may have to do a proactive outage to reroute service, right? So if we're trying to clear a spot on one of our parts of our system that has a tree on it, then we can do some switching around our system to serve that area from a different direction and isolate that spot. And so sometimes if a customer, is out for just a brief moment, it's likely because we're doing some switching to try to get them back on, in a kind of an automated, way. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the outages were those kind of outages. Maybe a branch, touches a line but doesn't stay on the line, and so they'll see a blink, but then the branch will clear and the lights will come back on automatically. So it's that kind of stuff that I'm talking about when I talk about the 98,000 customers. But 38,000 customers were kind of materially impacted at a given time.
And Rudy, if I can ask, looking at some of the cities earlier today, we noticed that Dallas had about similar number, 30,000 people without power out of Encore. Austin Energy had around 400 people without power at the same time that the city of San Antonio, CPS Energy had 32,000 people without power. So I guess, can you talk about the difference in the experience that we saw compared between San Antonio and Austin? I mean, did we have significant weather events?
Yeah, I mean, look, Joey, I know it's an easy comparison to make and to throw it out there. Austin Energy is half the size of CPS Energy, number one. And number two, they have their systems kind of flip than ours. They have twice as much of their infrastructure underground as they do overhead. We have twice as much infrastructure that's overhead than underground. So we've got more exposure to wind events than Austin does. And even, if they experience the exact same experience, they're still half the size of ours. So their numbers are just going to be different naturally because of the characteristics of their system. I talked to Jackie Sargent, my colleague, who's CEO of Austin Energy, and they did not see the wind in Austin that we saw here. So they may have gotten a similar precipitation, but they didn't have the wind impact that we did.
Next question here is in the chat from Steven Santana with MySA. This is for Rudy with CPS Energy. Are we anticipating a similar outage event tomorrow morning?
I think we'll be in better shape tomorrow because I'm not seeing the precipitation risk that we saw today. So I'm hopeful that we'll get everybody back on by midnight tonight, and tomorrow will be a much better day. Now, if we see some precipitation come in, then that could change. But as of right now, what I've seen in the forecast show that it's going to be dry, and if it's dry, I think we're good. Again, if there's some wind impact that comes in, that's kind of an unknown. But again, I'm not anticipating the kind of impact tomorrow that we saw today.
Also from the chat, Megan Bettis from Ken's 5 for Rudy. Do you have an estimated number of how many outages have been caused by trees, and how exactly do your crews handle outages that involve trees?
Well, the good majority of them were trees. Some of them were ice on the lines, but almost all of them, all of the outages were caused by trees as a result of the high winds. What we try to do is we try to get a tree crew out to clear the line so that when our line crews get there, that work has been done, and then they can go in and troubleshoot. In some cases, maybe the tree crews will catch a good majority of the clearing that needs to be done, but there may be something else further down the line that they didn't catch that our line crews will have to go in and finish up to get back on. So, I mean, we have a pretty good system of how we troubleshoot, but sometimes I got to send 2-3 crews to one spot, depending upon how big an area is being impacted, so that we have enough resources to troubleshoot it efficiently and get them back on. So again, I mean, it's not, I know it gets frustrating wanting to know how long are we going to be out. It's really difficult to tell that until we get on site and actually do an assessment. And once I have a crew on site, I have a pretty good idea that it's going to be an hour or two, at the most, by the time it takes to get people back on. But, that's an area that I think we still have an opportunity to combine the data available to us with our outage map and actually tell customers, hey, you're going to be out, for the next 5 hours or, 6 hours. At least if they knew that, they could plan around that. We're not there yet. I think we try really hard to put messages out on Nextdoor and Facebook when we know what the issue is and that we have a line crew on site. But that's still, somewhat manual, and we're going to have to continue working on our data capabilities to get to the place where our customers really want us to be, and that's telling them, hey, you're out and you're going to be out for 3 hours. They can do something with that, and we still got some work to do there.
One more question coming to us from the chat. This is from Katie Barber with KTSA. When you reference the extra funding needed to make changes for efficiency, does that plan potentially include utilizing more underground infrastructure? Rudy, this one's also for you.
Yeah, it does. Every year we look for opportunities to look at our reliability data and pick maybe a neighborhood or a line section that we can underground where we believe that undergrounding will have a positive impact on reliability. We're spending probably, $10-20 million a year on strategic undergrounding, which is kind of what we call that program. We certainly, I'd love to be able to find more dollars to do that, but we're working within, the budget that we can, commit to that. But yes, we do some strategic undergrounding where it makes sense.
Any other questions from our media partners?
Yes, this is Luke Simons over at Kins 5. Rudy, one more question. As we talk about tonight, it's remaining cold, and there's been talk about that kind of reaching further down to the south and the usage statewide. Does that change anything for you guys as far as monitoring that side of things, so that hopefully we don't have what happened last year?
Yeah, I I've seen the numbers that ERCOT is putting out. I think we have close to 83,000 megawatts of available generation capacity. And at the highest, I think our system peak for tomorrow morning is going to maybe as high as 75,000 megawatts. So if we got 9,000 extra megawatts of power generation available, I feel pretty good about that. So I'm not anticipating we're going to have a supply demand issue tomorrow.
Any other questions from the media? Here's one from Megan Bettis with Ken's. The SA Public Works team said they've removed more than 24 trees. Is this typical in these kinds of weather events? And do people need to call to report down trees to Public Works? Eric?
Yeah, it is typical. And yes, people call 311 to report those down trees. Sometimes they're related to calls to CPS for electrical service that's out. But yeah, it can be typical, especially with this type of event.
And Laura, if I may, just tell our viewers out there that our service centers, our payment service centers are closed for tomorrow. Obviously, if you needed to make a payment and you wanted to do it in person, that's where you do it, but they will be closed tomorrow.
Likewise, so are ours. So Robert, I appreciate our lake parks are also closed tomorrow and into Saturday morning as well. So
great. At this time, let me hand it back over to our city manager, Eric Walsh, to close us out.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon. We'll be pushing out a kind of a joint press release with all the information that all the partners shared. And we'll continue to provide updates overnight on our respective websites, but also social media. And then we'll play tomorrow morning by ear and possibly schedule another briefing if needed. So thank you very much.